I left that witness stand with nothing left. No tears. I'd used them all. No rage. They'd taken that too. Picked it apart and called it proof that I was unstable. Walric sat across that chamber looking like a wounded male, like the victim, and every wolf in that room was watching me like I was the one who'd done something wrong. 4 years of bruises. 4 years of silence and apologies, and shrinking myself small enough to fit inside his idea of what I was allowed to be. And it still wasn't enough. The evidence wasn't enough. My voice wasn't enough. I could feel the council's doubt like a weight pressing down on my chest, and through the mate bond I felt Jabal's fury, carefully contained, dangerous and quiet. Walric caught my eye and smiled. That smile, the one that said, "I still own this outcome." 7 council members held my daughter's future in their hands. And I had no idea which way they were going to fall. Chapter 1. Thessalin stood. The defense calls Walric. Walric walked to the witness chair looking humble, wounded, like a male who'd been wronged. He swore his oath and sat. "Walric," Thessalin began, "you've heard your mate's accusations. Do you deny them?" "I don't deny that we fought. What couple doesn't? But abuse." He shook his head. "I loved her. Still love her. I was trying to help her through a difficult pregnancy." "You never struck her?" "Never intentionally. She's clumsy, always has been. She'd walk into doors, trip over things. I'd tell her to be more careful." "You pushed her down the stairs while she was pregnant?" "She was walking too slowly. I was in a hurry. I bumped her accidentally. She caught herself. No harm was done." "You controlled your household finances." "I managed them. Someone had to. Kayara has never been good with money." "You isolated her from her family?" "I protected her from toxic influences. Her sister has been trying to break us up since we mated. Her parents enabled her dramatic tendencies. I was trying to create a stable home for our pup. He was good. So smooth. Every answer reasonable. Every excuse believable." "You called her disgusting in the marketplace?" His expression shifted to regret. "That was my lowest moment. I was stressed, worried about her health, frustrated that she wouldn't take my advice. I said things I shouldn't have, but that doesn't make me an abuser." "What about the bruises?" "She bruises easily. Always has. A door closing while she reached past it, bumping into furniture, normal clumsiness made worse by pregnancy. I never meant to hurt her." Thessalin changed tactics. "You wanted a male pup, didn't you?" I had no preference." "Really? What did you do when the healer told you the pup was female?" He hesitated. "I was disappointed. But I got over it." "You got over it. Or you took your disappointment out on your mate." "I never—" "You told her she couldn't even do this right. Those were your words, weren't they?" "I was frustrated. You punched a wall next to her head hard enough to crack the wood." "I was angry. I didn't hit her." "No, you just made sure she knew you could if you wanted to. That's not—" He stopped, realizing his mistake. "Not what, Walric?" "Not how you meant it. Because it certainly sounds like intimidation to me." He recovered quickly. "I never hurt my mate, and I never would hurt my pup. This is all a misunderstanding blown out of proportion by an Omega with pregnancy-addled mind and a sister with a grudge." The hearing continued for hours. More witnesses. More arguments. More evidence that felt simultaneously damning and insufficient. By the time Aldrich called for recess, I was exhausted. Jabal guided me to a private room where I could rest. "You did well," he said. I fell apart. "You stayed calmer than most wolves would under that kind of assault. He's going to win. I can see it in their faces. They believe him. The decision hasn't been made yet. But it will be, and it won't be in my favor." He didn't argue. couldn't, because he knew I was right. That afternoon, the council reconvened. Aldrich stood to deliver their decision. This council has deliberated on the evidence presented. We find the following. He paused, and my stomach clenched. The accusations of abuse are concerning. The medical evidence shows injuries consistent with Mistress Kayara's claims. However, there was always a however. We also find significant contradicting testimony. Multiple witnesses state that Walric is a devoted mate. Mistress Kayara's own parents attest to her tendency toward dramatics. And the circumstances of her departure, moving immediately into the Alpha King's castle, raise questions about her motives. I stopped breathing. Therefore, we rule as follows. The mate bond between Walric and Kayara will be dissolved. Relief flooded through me. However, Walric will be granted supervised visitation rights with the pup once she's born. 4 hours, twice per moon cycle, with a council-appointed supervisor present. No. Additionally, Mistress Kayara will undergo evaluation by a council-approved healer to assess her mental fitness. If she's found unfit, custody will be revisited. This is unacceptable, Jabal said, his voice hard. It is our ruling, Aldrich said firmly. We acknowledge the mate bond between Mistress Kayara and Alpha King Jabal as legitimate. The previous bond is dissolved, but Walric, as biological father, retains rights to his pup. Walric stood, looking triumphant. Thank you, honored council. I look forward to meeting my daughter. He looked at me, and his smile said everything. I still win. I still have power over you. You'll never be free of me. The council adjourned. I sat there numb. The bond was dissolved. I was free of Walric legally. But he'd still be in my life. Still have access to my daughter. Still have power to hurt me through her. We appeal, Jabal said immediately. To who? This is the highest authority except the High Council, and they won't hear it for months. By then the pup will be born and he'll have established visitation. Then we make sure the supervised visits are exactly that, supervised with guards who report everything. For how long? Until the pup is grown? That's years of having him in our lives. Yes, but at least you're free of him as a mate. That's something. It was something. But it didn't feel like enough. That night, back in my room, I broke down, cried until I had no tears left. The pup kicked frantically, responding to my distress. I'm sorry, I whispered to her. I tried to protect you. I tried so hard, but he's still going to be there, and I don't know how to keep you safe from him. A knock at the door. Jabal, again. I need to be alone, I called. I know, but I brought Deva. She's worried. I opened the door. Deva rushed in and pulled me into a fierce hug. I'm so sorry, she said. I thought the evidence would be enough. It's never enough. Not when the system is designed to favor males. I pulled back. Thank you. For trying. For documenting everything. For believing me when no one else did. I'll always believe you. Jabal lingered in the doorway. I'll leave you two alone. If you need anything, send for me. Chapter 2. After he left, Diva and I sat by the fire. What do I do? I asked. How do I survive knowing Walric will be part of my daughter's life? You survive because you have to. Because she needs you. Because the alternative is letting him win. He already won. No, he got partial access under supervision. That's not winning. That's the best he could do with a stacked deck. She grabbed my hands. Kaya, you're free. You're not his mate anymore. You're mated to an Alpha King who actually seems to care about you. You're safe, fed, protected. That's not nothing. It doesn't feel like enough. Because you're still in the middle of it. But you're on the other side of the worst part. Now you just have to heal. How do you heal when the wound keeps getting reopened? 1 day at a time, 1 hour at a time if necessary. She stayed with me that night, sleeping in the chair by my fire. I fell asleep to her gentle snoring and woke to sunlight and the smell of breakfast being delivered. The next few weeks passed in a haze. I ate, slept, saw Sarah for checkups. The pup grew steadily. I grew with her, bigger, slower, more uncomfortable. Jabal kept his distance, respecting my need for space, but I could feel him through the bond, a constant presence in the back of my mind. One afternoon, about a month after the hearing, I found myself in the solar room he'd mentioned. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, and there, set up in the corner, was everything I needed to paint. Brushes, pigments, paper, water. I stood there staring at the blank paper for a long time. Then slowly I mixed colors and began. The painting was dark at first, all blacks and grays and deep reds, chaos and pain and fear. But as I worked, lighter colors crept in. Not because I forced them, just because they felt right. When Jabal found me hours later, I had paint on my hands and face. The painting was half finished, still dark, but with threads of light fighting through the shadows. "It's powerful," he said. "It's honest." "Same thing?" He paused. "How do you feel?" "Tired, overwhelmed, but also something else. Something that might be the start of okay." "Good, that's good." We stood there looking at the painting, and for the first time since the hearing, I felt something other than despair. I felt possibility. Chapter 3. 2 months before the pup was due, a messenger arrived from the council. A formal letter with the council's seal. Margaret brought it to me in the solar room, where I'd been painting. I'd been coming here every day, slowly filling canvas after canvas with images that helped me process what I couldn't put into words. "What is it?" I asked, wiping paint from my hands. "Council correspondence? It requires your signature." I broke the seal and read. Then read again, not believing. "They want me to see a council-approved healer for mental evaluation within the fortnight. Jabal mentioned they might request that." "Request? This is a summons. If I don't comply, they'll revisit custody arrangements." The evaluation was scheduled for the following week. The healer, a stern female named Morel, arrived at the castle with an assistant and a long list of questions. How did I feel most days? Was I sleeping? Eating? Did I have thoughts of harming myself or the pup? Did I hear voices, see things that weren't there? "Do you believe your former mate abused you?" Morel asked, her quill poised over parchment. "I don't believe it. I know it." But the council found insufficient evidence. The council found politically convenient results. She made a note. "Do you harbor resentment toward the council?" "I harbor frustration toward a system that protects abusers." More notes. "Do you have violent thoughts toward your former mate?" "I have thoughts of wanting him gone from my life, but I'm not going to hurt him." "Do you trust the Alpha King?" The question caught me off guard. "I'm learning to." "What does that mean?" "It means trust is difficult when you've spent 4 years learning that males lie." "Even your mate?" "He's not." I stopped. The bond was real, recognized by the council. But calling Jabal my mate felt strange. "Even Jabal, yes. Trust takes time." The evaluation lasted 3 hours. By the end, I was exhausted and felt like I'd failed some invisible test. "When will I know the results?" I asked. "The council will receive my report within the week. They'll make their determination. And if they find me unfit, then custody arrangements will be revisited." The week of waiting was torture. I painted obsessively, trying to quiet my mind. The canvases grew darker again, all the progress I'd made crumbling under the weight of uncertainty. Jabal found me one evening surrounded by half-finished paintings, paint covering my arms up to the elbows, tears streaming down my face. "The report came," he said quietly. My heart stopped. "And?" "You're cleared. Morel found no evidence of mental instability or unfitness. Some postpartum anxiety is expected, but nothing that impacts your ability to parent." I collapsed into the nearest chair, relief making my legs weak. Thank the gods. "There's more." He sat across from me. "Walric has requested that the first supervised visit happen within a week of the pup's birth." "What? She'll barely be a week old." "The council approved it. They believe early bonding between father and pup is important." "More important than my recovery? I'll have just given birth." I argued that. They didn't care. I wanted to scream, wanted to shift and run and escape all of this. But I was 8 months pregnant, too large to shift safely, too tired to run. "I can't do this," I whispered. "Yes, you can. Because you don't have a choice." The brutal honesty hurt, but it was true. I didn't have a choice. The council had ruled. Walric had rights, and I had to live with it. The final month of pregnancy was the longest of my life. My back ached constantly. The pup felt enormous, pressing on everything. I couldn't sleep, couldn't get comfortable, couldn't think about anything except the impending birth and the supervised visit that would come after. Healer Sarah checked on me daily. "The pup is in position. Could be any day now." "How long does labor usually last?" "For a first pup?" "Could be hours, could be a full day. Every omega is different." "That's not reassuring." "Birth isn't meant to be reassuring. It's meant to be transformative." Labor started 3 days later. I woke at dawn with cramping that felt different from the false contractions I'd been having for weeks. These were stronger, more regular, building in intensity. I sent for Sarah immediately. She examined me and confirmed, "You're in early labor. The pup is coming." "Now?" "Could be hours still. But yes, within the day." Margaret helped me to the birthing chamber, a room set up specifically for this, with clean linens and heating stones and everything Sarah might need. Jabal appeared in the doorway. "May I stay?" he asked. "I'll understand if you want privacy." "Stay, please." The hours that followed were a blur of pain and pressure and overwhelming intensity. Sarah talked me through contractions, showed me how to breathe, told me when to push. Jabal held my hand through all of it. Let me squeeze hard, enough that I probably broke bones, didn't complain once. "I can't do this," I gasped during a particularly brutal contraction. "You're already doing it," he said firmly. "It hurts." "I know, but you're strong enough." The pain built and built until I thought I'd break from it. Then Sarah said, "One more push. I can see her head." I pushed with everything I had. And then, a cry, sharp and indignant and perfect. "It's a girl," Sarah said, placing a tiny, squirming bundle on my chest. "My daughter. Real and alive and here." She had dark hair plastered to her head and eyes that would probably turn amber like all wolves' eyes eventually. Tiny fists waving. Perfect little features scrunched in outrage at being born. "Hello, little one," I whispered through tears. "I'm your mother. I've got you now." Jabal was crying. Actually crying, tears running down his face as he looked at her. "She's perfect," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Do you want to hold her?" He hesitated. "May I?" I nodded. Sarah helped transfer the pup to his arms. He held her like she might shatter, staring at her with complete wonder. "Hello, little wolf," he murmured. "I know I'm not your father, but I'm going to do everything I can to keep you safe." The pup yawned, completely unimpressed by promises or emotion. I laughed through my tears. What should I name her? That's your choice. I thought about it, about everything we'd been through to get here, about the journey ahead, about hope and survival and new beginnings. Zephyne, I said finally. It means west wind, new beginnings. It's perfect. Chapter 4. The first few days after birth were brutal. My body ached everywhere. Feeding Zephyne was harder than I'd expected. She'd latch wrong, or I'd produce too much milk or not enough. I barely slept. Cried at everything. This is normal, Sarah assured me. Your body just did something extraordinary. Give yourself time to recover. But I didn't have time, because in 6 days, the first supervised visit was scheduled. The day arrived too quickly. A council-appointed supervisor, a female named Ellen with kind eyes but firm boundaries, came to collect Zephyne. The visit will be 2 hours, Ellen explained. In a supervised room in town. I'll be present the entire time. Any concerning behavior will be documented. I held Zephyne, 6 days old, and tried to memorize every detail. Her smell, her weight, the way she made little snuffling noises when she slept. I can't do this, I said. You have to, Ellen said gently. It's court-ordered. Jabal stepped forward. I'm coming with you. That's not... I'm the Alpha King. If I say I'm attending, I'm attending. Ellen didn't argue. The trip to town took an hour by carriage. Zephyne slept through most of it. I held her and tried not to think about handing her to Walric. The supervised visitation room was in a council building. Sparse furniture. No weapons. Ellen would sit in the corner, documenting everything. Walric was already there when we arrived. Seeing him again made my wolf snarl, made every muscle in my body tense, made Zephyne squirm in my arms, sensing my distress. Kayara, he said quietly. His eyes went to the bundle in my arms. Is that her? I couldn't speak, could barely breathe. Jabal's hand found my back, steadying. You don't have to do this if you're not ready. Yes, she does, Ellen said firmly. It's court-ordered. With shaking hands, I passed my 6-day-old daughter to her father. Walric took her carefully, looked down at her with an expression I couldn't read. She's beautiful, he whispered. She looks like you. I wanted to snatch her back, wanted to run. But Ellen was watching, documenting. One wrong move and they'd say I was unstable, unfit, unable to handle co-parenting. So I sat in a chair and watched Walric hold my daughter. The 2 hours were endless. Walric talked to Zephyne softly, told her about himself, his pack, his hopes for her, held her gently when she fussed, changed her wrappings when she soiled them, did everything right, which somehow made it worse, because this Walric, gentle, patient, caring, was the one I'd fallen in love with 4 years ago, before the control and the cruelty and the constant fear. She's perfect, he said, looking at me. Thank you. For carrying her safely. I didn't respond, couldn't. When the 2 hours ended, Ellen said, Time's up. Walric handed Zephyne back without argument. His fingers brushed mine briefly. I pulled away like I'd been burned. I'll see you in 2 weeks, he said. Next visit. In the carriage, back to the castle, I held Zephyne and cried. Relief that she was safe. Anger that I'd had to do that. Fear about the next visit and the one after that, and all the visits stretching into the future. How was he with her? Jabal asked quietly. Perfect, gentle, appropriate. Like a completely different male than the one who hurt me. My voice cracked. Which makes it worse, because now I look like the villain for not wanting him near her. You're not a villain for protecting your pup. The council doesn't see it that way. The supervised visits became a routine. Every 2 weeks, Ellen would come to collect Zephine. I'd hand over my daughter and spend 2 hours in agony wondering if this would be the visit where Walric showed his true nature. But he never did. Every report Ellen gave was the same. Appropriate interaction, gentle handling, no concerning behavior. He's really good with her, Ellen told me after the 4th visit. Very patient, very engaged. Good, I said flatly. Kayara, I know this is hard, but it's actually positive that he's capable of being a good father. Is it? Because it feels like I'm being gaslit all over again. Like I left him for nothing. You left because he hurt you. That was real. But people can be dangerous to one person and safe with another. He can be a threat to you while being good to Zephine. The logic made sense, but it didn't make the visits easier. Meanwhile, Zephine grew. 1 month old, 2 months. She started smiling, making sounds, recognizing faces. She was beautiful and perfect, and I loved her more than I'd known was possible. But I was also exhausted. Bone-deep tired in a way that sleep didn't fix. Some days, getting out of bed felt impossible. Other days, I cried for no reason. Or every reason. This is postpartum recovery, Sarah explained when I finally told her. Your body went through trauma. Your hormones are adjusting, and you're dealing with the stress of supervised visits on top of everything else. Is it supposed to hurt this much? Healing always hurts, but you're doing better than you think. I didn't feel like I was doing better. I felt like I was barely holding on. Jabal helped more than I wanted to admit. He'd take Zephine when I needed to sleep. Would sit with me during the dark hours when the anxiety got bad. Never pushed for more than I could give. The mate bond between us was still there. Constant, insistent, uncomfortable. My wolf wanted to accept it, lean into it, trust it. But I'd learned not to trust my instincts where mates were concerned. 3 months after Zephine's birth, Jabal found me in the solar room. I'd been trying to paint, but couldn't focus. The canvas sat blank, mocking me. Can we talk? He asked. About what? About us. About the bond. About what comes next. I set down my brush. I don't know what to say. Then let me say something first. He sat across from me. I know the bond is uncomfortable. I know you didn't choose it. But it's real, and ignoring it isn't working. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we acknowledge it. Not act on it romantically if you're not ready, but stop pretending it doesn't exist. I don't know how to do that. Neither do I, but we figure it out together. I studied his face. Why are you being so patient? 'Cause rushing you would make me no better than Walric, and I refuse to be that male. The honesty was disarming. What if I'm never ready? What if the bond is there, but I can't trust it? Then we live with that. We co-parent Zephine. We exist as 2 people with a complicated connection, but we don't force anything. You're really okay with that? No. But I'm okay with respecting your boundaries more than I'm okay with pushing them. We sat in silence for a while. Can I ask you something? I said finally. Always. Do you resent the bond, being tied to someone as broken as me? You're not broken. You're healing. And no, I don't resent it. I'm frustrated by the circumstances that created it. But the bond itself. He paused. It feels right, even when it's complicated. I wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this male who'd been nothing but patient and kind would continue to be those things. But 4 years of conditioning didn't disappear in 3 months. I need more time, I said. Take all the time you need. Chapter 5. 4 months after Zephine's birth, something shifted. Walric requested a modification to the visitation schedule. Instead of supervised visits twice a month, he wanted to reduce to once a month. His work requires travel, Ellen explained. He can't maintain the current schedule. Okay, I said, not believing my luck. You're agreeing? Just like that? Less visitation is fine with me. The reduced schedule was approved. Once monthly visits, 4 hours instead of 2. Still supervised. I should have felt relieved. But instead I felt suspicious. Like Walric was playing a longer game. 6 months after Zephine's birth, I painted something different. Not dark chaos. Not angry reds and blacks. Light. Structure. A sunrise breaking through storm clouds. Jabal found me staring at it. It's different, he observed. I feel different. Not healed, but less broken, maybe. Progress. Yeah. I set down my brush. Jabal, can I ask you something? Of course. The mate bond, can you teach me how to shield? Like you learned to do? He looked surprised. You want to learn to block it? I want to learn to control it. Right now it feels like it controls me. I want choice in how much of your emotions I feel. That makes sense. I'll arrange for you to work with the healer who taught me. Over the next weeks, I learned to build mental barriers around the bond. Not to block it completely, that was impossible, but to control how much came through. It was like learning to lower the volume on a constant noise. It helped. Gave me back some sense of autonomy. 8 months after Zephine's birth, Diva visited. You look better, she said, studying my face. I feel better, most days. And Walric's visits? Still happening, still supervised, still awful, but manageable. Have you thought about what happens when Zephine is older, when she starts asking questions? Every day. I don't have answers yet. That's fair. She paused. What about Jabal? How are things there? Complicated. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. The bond is real. He's been nothing but respectful and patient, but trust is still hard. Do you want to trust him? The question caught me off guard. I don't know. Maybe? Then maybe that's enough for now. Wanting to trust even if you can't yet. That night I thought about what Deva had said. About wanting versus being able. About progress versus perfection. I found Jabal in his study, reading through council documents. Can we talk? I asked. Always. I sat across from him. I've been thinking about what you said, about acknowledging the bond without forcing anything. Okay. I think I want to try. Not a romantic relationship, but maybe friendship? Partnership? Something more than co-parents who happen to be bonded? His expression was carefully neutral. What would that look like? I don't know. Spending more time together, maybe? Actually talking instead of just coordinating around Zephine? Learning to be comfortable with each other? I'd like that. No expectations, though. No timeline. No assumptions that this leads anywhere specific. Agreed. Over the following weeks, we started having dinner together. Just talking. About nothing important at first. His work, my painting, Zephine's development. Then slowly deeper things. His mother. My childhood. The fears we both carried. It felt strange. Vulnerable. Like learning to trust again from scratch. But it also felt good. Like maybe healing was possible after all. 1 year after leaving Walric, Zephine took her first steps. She'd been cruising along furniture for weeks, but this was different. Real steps. 3 wobbly movements from the couch to where I sat on the floor before she tumbled into my lap, delighted with herself. Did you see that? I called to Jabal. He came running from his study. See what? She walked. Actual steps. We spent the next hour encouraging her to do it again. She obliged, clearly pleased, with herself, taking a few steps before falling and trying again. She's fearless, Jabal observed. She doesn't know yet that the world is dangerous. Maybe we can keep it that way a little longer. That evening, after Zephine was asleep, I found Jabal on the castle battlements. He came up here sometimes when he needed to think, the height and the stars and the wind helping him process. "Can I join you?" I asked. "Please." We stood side by side, looking out over the forest below. The moon was full, illuminating everything in silver light. "1 year," I said. "It's been 1 year since you found me in that marketplace. 1 year since you chose to leave. Do you ever regret it? Taking on all of this mess?" "No." "Do you regret leaving?" "No. But I wonder sometimes what would have happened if you hadn't been there that day." "You would have found another way, eventually. You have more faith in me than I have in myself. Because I can see how strong you are, even when you can't." We stood in comfortable silence for a while. "Jabal?" "Yes." "Thank you for everything, for being patient, for not pushing, for letting me heal at my own pace." "You don't need to thank me." "I do, because you could have used the bond to pressure me, could have demanded gratitude or affection or anything else. But you didn't. You just gave me space to become a person again. You were always a person. You just needed space to remember that." I looked at him. Really looked. This male who'd turned his life upside down for a stranger. Who'd been patient when I was difficult. Who'd asked for nothing while giving everything. And for the first time, I felt something other than gratitude or obligation or fear. I felt possibility. "Can I try something?" I asked. "What?" I rose on my toes and kissed him, soft, tentative, asking permission with every movement. He kissed back, gentle, careful, giving me complete control. When I pulled away, my heart was racing. Was that okay? More than okay. "But Kayara, you don't owe me that. You don't owe me anything." "I know. That's why I did it. Because I wanted to. Not because I had to." His expression was pained and hopeful at the same time. "What does this mean?" "I don't know yet. But maybe we can figure it out together?" "Yeah, we can do that." We stood on the battlements as the moon rose higher, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt something that might be peace. Not perfection. Not happily ever after. Just a moment of quiet. Of possibility. Of hope. And maybe that was enough for now. Chapter 6. 18 months after I left Walric, he requested an emergency meeting. Ellen was present as mediator. Jabal insisted on coming with me. We met in a neutral location, a council hall with guards posted at every entrance. Walric looked different, thinner, tired, older somehow. "Thank you for coming," he said. "What's this about?" I asked, keeping my distance. He pulled out a sealed document. "I'm voluntarily terminating my parental rights." The room went silent. "What?" I managed. "I've been in intensive therapy for the past year. Real therapy, not just the court-mandated sessions. And I've realized something." He looked at me directly. "My presence in your life, even just through these visits, is preventing you from healing. Every 2 weeks, you have to see me. Have to relive everything. Have to stay trapped in survival mode instead of moving forward." "I don't understand." "I'm saying you were right. About everything. I hurt you, systematically. For 4 years, I broke you down, isolated you, made you believe you were worthless, and I'm choosing to stop doing that." I stared at him, not believing. "These are papers to terminate all parental rights. No custody, no visitation, no contact. I'll continue paying support through an intermediary, but otherwise I'll be gone from your lives." "Why?" The word came out as a whisper. "Because being a good father means doing what's best for my daughter. And what's best for Zephine is having a mother who can heal, who isn't constantly traumatized by her father's presence." He paused. "I'm asking one thing. When she's old enough to ask about me, if she asks, tell her the truth. That I hurt you, that I tried to change, but that in the end I chose to stay away so you could heal. I couldn't process it. This was what I'd wanted. Walric out of our lives completely. But now that it was happening, I felt not relief. Something more complicated. "I need to think about this," I said. "Take your time." We left the meeting in silence. In the carriage back to the castle, Jabal asked, "What are you thinking?" "I don't know. This is what I wanted. Why don't I feel relieved?" "Because it's complicated. He's giving you what you asked for, which means acknowledging that his change was real. That he's capable of putting your well-being first." "I wanted him to be irredeemable. It was easier that way." "I know." I spent the next week in turmoil, talking to my therapist. Jabal had arranged for a healer who specialized in trauma. Talking to Diva, trying to understand my own feelings. In the end, I signed the papers. Not because I forgave Walric. Not because I trusted his motives, but because he was right. His presence made healing harder. And Zephine deserved a mother who could heal. The papers were filed with the council, approved within days. Just like that, Walric was legally out of our lives. I expected to feel free. Instead, I felt untethered. Like I'd been fighting for so long that without an enemy, I didn't know what to do with myself. "It's normal," my therapist said. "You've been in survival mode for years. Now that the immediate threat is gone, your body doesn't know how to exist without adrenaline. So what do I do? You learn to live without constant fear. You learn what peace feels like." Learning peace was harder than surviving trauma. Without the constant threat of visitation, I had to face myself. Had to sit with all the damage I'd been carrying. Had to figure out who I was when I wasn't fighting for survival. The panic attacks got worse before they got better. The nightmares intensified. I had days where getting out of bed felt impossible. Jabal was patient through all of it. On bad days, he'd take Zephine so I could rest. On worse days, he'd sit with me while I cried about nothing and everything. Never pushed for more than I could give. Our relationship, whatever it was, grew slowly, carefully. We'd have dinner together most evenings. Sometimes we'd kiss. Sometimes we'd just sit in comfortable silence. There was no pressure, no expectations, no timeline. "What are we doing?" I asked one evening, about 2 years after I'd left Walric. "What do you want us to be doing?" "I don't know. We're bonded mates who live together and raise a pup together and sometimes kiss, but we're not. We haven't what?" I felt my face heat. "Been intimate. Physically. Beyond kissing. And you want to be?" "Maybe. I don't know. The thought terrifies me, but also, I think I might want to try." He set down the scroll he was reading. "Kayara, we don't have to do anything you're not ready for." "I know. But what if I'm never fully ready? What if there's always fear?" "Then we work with the fear. We go slow. We stop whenever you need to stop. And we don't consider it failure if you can't. You've thought about this." "Of course I have. You're my mate. But I'm not going to push you into something that would hurt you." Chapter 7. 2 weeks later, I decided to try. I went to his chambers after Zephine was asleep, knocked on his door with my heart racing. "Kayara, is everything all right? I want to try. Being intimate, if you're willing." His expression was careful. "I'm willing. but only if you're sure. I'm terrified, but I want to anyway. What followed was awkward and careful and occasionally overwhelming. I had to stop twice. Once because a touch triggered a memory. Once because the vulnerability was too much. But Jabal never made me feel guilty about it. Never pushed. Never showed frustration. "We have time," he kept saying. "All the time you need." Eventually, we managed. It wasn't perfect or passionate or anything like the stories said mating was supposed to be. But it was safe. Gentle. Healing in its own way. Afterward, I cried. "Too much?" he asked immediately. "No, it was good. I didn't know it could feel like this." "Like what?" "Safe. Like I was choosing it instead of enduring it." He held me close. "You'll always have choice. Always." Over the following months, physical intimacy became easier. Not perfect. I still had moments of panic, still had triggers. But slowly I learned that not all touch was a trap. That vulnerability with the right person could feel safe. Zephine grew, 2 years old, 3. She was bright and curious and stubborn. She asked questions constantly, explored everything, feared nothing. She called Jabal Papa without prompting. Neither of us corrected her. It felt right. One day, when she was 3.5, she asked the question I'd been dreading. "Mama, why doesn't Papa look like me?" We were in the solar room. I was painting while she played with carved wooden animals nearby. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Papa has dark hair. I have dark hair like you. But Papa's eyes are different, and he smells different." Wolves could scent family bonds. She was noticing that Jabal didn't smell like bloodkin. I set down my brush and knelt beside her. "That's because Papa Jabal isn't your birth father." "What's a birth father?" "The male who helped make you. Before you were born." "Where is he?" I took a breath. "He's gone. He's not part of our family." "Why?" "Because sometimes people can't be together, and that's okay." She thought about this seriously. "Does he know about me?" "Yes, he knew about you. Did he want me?" The question broke my heart. He wanted you, but he wasn't good at being a papa, so he decided it was better for you to have Papa Jabal instead. Papa Jabal is good at being a papa. Yes, he is. Okay. She went back to playing, apparently satisfied. That evening I told Jabal about the conversation. "How did she take it?" he asked. "Better than I did. She asked a few questions, accepted the answers, moved on." "That's good." "She said you're good at being a papa." His expression softened. "She's not even my blood pup. But I love her like she is." I know, she knows it, too. That's what matters. 3 years after leaving Walric, I painted something I'd been avoiding. A self-portrait. But not as I was during the abuse. Broken, afraid, small. And not as I was now. Still healing, still learning. Both. Side by side. The before and after. Connected but different. I titled it Becoming. Jabal found me staring at it. "It's powerful," he said. "It's honest. Those are the same thing." I smiled. He'd said that so many times over the years. "I've been thinking about opening the solar room to others. Maybe offering painting sessions for Omegas who've experienced trauma." "Like what you went through?" "Yes. Art helped me process things I couldn't put into words. Maybe it could help others too." "I think that's a wonderful idea. We can set up a schedule, provide supplies, whatever you need." The painting sessions started small, just 2 other Omegas at first, but word spread. Within months, I had a regular group of 10 females who came weekly to paint, to talk, to heal together. It gave me purpose beyond Zephine and Jabal. gave me a way to transform my pain into something useful. 4 years after leaving Walric, Jabal asked me a question. We were on the battlements again, our spot for serious conversations, watching the sunset paint the sky in reds and golds. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Always. Would you want to make our mating official? A formal ceremony?" My heart jumped. Like a public bonding? Yes, the mate bond is already recognized by the council. But we've never had a ceremony. Never made formal vows. I thought, if you wanted to, we could. Why now? Because I love you. Because you're the most remarkable person I've ever known. Because I want the world to know that you chose me and I chose you, and that choice matters. Tears filled my eyes. I love you too. I don't say it enough, but I do. Is that a yes to the ceremony? Yes. But something small. Private, just family. Whatever you want. The ceremony was held in the castle gardens on a clear autumn day. Just our closest family and friends. Deva, Margaret, Sarah, a handful of Jabal's trusted advisors. Zephine was there, 4 years old, wearing a crown of flowers and carrying a basket of petals. We spoke our vows in the old way, blood to blood, life to life, heart to heart. Jabal's hand in mine, our wolves recognizing each other, the bond flaring bright and warm between us. I vow to honor your choices, he said, to give you space when you need it and support when you want it, to never use my strength against you, to protect you and our pup with everything I have. I vow to trust you, I said, tears streaming down my face. Even when it's hard, to let you in instead of pushing you away, to build a life with you, not because I have to, but because I want to. We sealed the vows with a kiss, and Zephine threw petals everywhere, delighted. That night, in our shared chambers, I'd moved into Jabal's room 6 months earlier. I looked at the life I'd built. A daughter who was thriving. A mate who loved me without trying to control me. A purpose that extended beyond survival. Healing that was ongoing but real. "What are you thinking?" Jabal asked. "That I'm happy. Actually, genuinely happy. And I'm not waiting for it to end anymore." "Good." I used to think happiness was something that happened to other people, that I'd broken myself too badly to ever feel it. And now I think maybe I was never broken, just bent. And bent things can straighten again. Slowly. With time and care and patience. He pulled me close. "You're incredible. You know that?" I'm learning to believe it. Chapter 8. 5 years after leaving Walric, I received a letter. It was delivered by courier, sealed with wax I didn't recognize. Inside was a single page, written in Walric's hand. "Kayara, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect anything from you. But I wanted you to know. I'm leaving the territory. Moving far enough away that our paths will never cross accidentally. I've spent 5 years in therapy, working to understand what I did and why. I'll never fully understand the damage I caused. But I'm trying to become someone who wouldn't cause that damage again. I hope you're happy. I hope Zephine is thriving. I hope you found the peace I took from you. I'm sorry. For everything." Those words aren't enough, but they're all I have. Take care of yourself. Take care of our daughter. She's lucky to have you. I read it 3 times. Showed it to Jabal. "How do you feel?" he asked. "I don't know. It doesn't change anything. But maybe it gives me closure. The knowledge that he's gone for good, not just legally, but actually gone. That makes sense. Should I respond? Do you want to?" I thought about it, then wrote a single line on parchment. "I forgive you. Not for you. For me. Goodbye. I sent it through the courier and felt lighter. Not because Walric deserved forgiveness, but because carrying anger was too heavy, and I was tired of carrying it. 6 years after leaving Walric, something unexpected happened. I was pregnant again. This time, the pregnancy was chosen. Wanted. Created with a mate who loved me and whom I trusted. When I told Jabal, he cried. Happy tears this time. We're having a pup, he whispered, his hand on my still flat belly. Are you happy? Terrified and happy, is that allowed? That seems to be our default state. The pregnancy was different from my first. No fear. No walking on eggshells. No constant stress about saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing, just joy. And normal pregnancy discomforts. And Zephine's excitement about becoming a big sister. Will the baby look like me? She asked constantly. Probably. You and the baby have the same papa. Papa Jabal? Yes. Good. Papa Jabal is the best papa. 8 months later, I gave birth to a son. We named him Aldrich, after the head counselor who'd ruled in my favor all those years ago. Jabal held him with tears streaming down his face. He's perfect. He really is. Zephine peered at her tiny brother with interest. He's very small. You were that small once. I was never that small, she said with 6-year-old certainty. Life settled into a new rhythm. 2 pups. A mate I loved. A purpose that extended beyond survival. Art sessions that helped other Omegas heal. A family I'd chosen and built myself. Some days were still hard. I still had nightmares occasionally. Still had moments of panic when someone raised their voice or moved too quickly. Still had scars that would never fully fade. But I also had joy. Real, genuine, hard-won joy. 7 years after leaving Walric, I finished a painting I'd been working on for months. It showed a forest at dawn. Dark trees gradually giving way to light. A wolf, female, clearly Omega, standing at the edge, looking toward the sunrise. Not running away from the darkness. Not diving into the light. Just standing there, choosing. I titled it After the Storm. Jabal found me looking at it in the solar room. Is that you? He asked, studying the Omega wolf. It's everyone who's survived, everyone who's made it to the other side and is figuring out what comes next. It's beautiful. It's honest. He smiled. Same thing. That evening, the whole family gathered for dinner. Me, Jabal, Zephine, 7 years old now, Aldrich, toddling around and getting into everything, Diva, Margaret, people I'd chosen, people who'd chosen me back. Mama, Zephine said suddenly, are you happy? The question was so direct, so sincere. Yes, sweetheart, I am. Good, you look happy, you smile a lot. Now. Do I? Yes, you didn't always smile, but you do now. Later that night, after the pups were asleep, I found Jabal in his study. Zephine said something interesting today, I told him. What? That I smile a lot now, that I didn't always, but I do now. She's observant. She's right, though. I do smile more, laugh more, feel more, not just the hard emotions, all of them. That's healing. Yeah. I sat on the edge of his desk. Can I tell you something? Always. 7 years ago, I thought my life was over. I thought leaving Walric would mean surviving but never thriving. Being alone, being broken forever. But I was wrong. About what? About everything. I'm not alone. I have family I chose. I'm not broken, I'm healing, and that's different. And thriving? I gestured around. This is thriving. Not perfect, but real. Complicated and messy and beautiful. He stood and pulled me close. You did that. All of it. You chose to leave. You chose to heal. You chose to build this life. I had help. You had support. But the work was yours? We stood there in his study, holding each other, and I thought about journeys. How they don't end cleanly. How healing isn't linear. How some scars never fully fade but become part of the landscape of who you are. I'd left Walric 7 years ago, and in those 7 years, I'd done the impossible. I'd become myself again. Not the person I was before the abuse. That person was gone. But someone new. Someone stronger because she'd been broken and put herself back together. Someone who knew that love wasn't supposed to hurt. That relationships could feel safe. That trust was possible even after betrayal. Someone who smiled. Later that night, I stood in the nursery watching Aldrich sleep. His tiny chest rose and fell, peaceful, safe, loved. Jabal came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "What are you thinking?" he whispered. "That I want to tell them the truth, both of them, when they're old enough, about where they came from. About what I survived, about the choices I made. Why? Because I want them to know that leaving is possible, that healing is possible, that you can survive impossible things and still build a beautiful life." I paused. I want them to know that they came from pain, but they're surrounded by love. And that's what matters. They're lucky to have you. We're lucky to have each other. We stood there watching our son sleep, and I felt it again. That sense of peace I'd spent years learning to trust. Not perfection, not happily ever after in the way stories described it. Just life. Real, complicated, beautiful life. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, that was more than enough. It was everything. The end. Thank you for listening to Kayara's story of survival, healing, and finding love on the other side of trauma. If this resonated with you, please like this video and let me know in the comments, what moment hit you hardest? Have you or someone you know experienced something similar? Remember, leaving is the hardest part, but staying free is the bravest journey. This story is about more than werewolves and fantasy. It's about the real experience of escaping abuse, learning to trust again, and discovering that you're stronger than what tried to break you. If you enjoyed this medieval fantasy romance with realistic healing and complex characters, subscribe for more emotional narratives that don't shy away from the hard parts of recovery. And remember, you're never as broken as someone made you believe. You're healing. And that's beautiful. Until next time, stay strong.